Hi and welcome to my shed. This is going to be a video of the build of a Austin 7 Special. I've never made a video before, so bear with me and I will learn as I go. I have recorded the intro, which is pretty poor, but I'm not doing it again. Anyway, the idea is to build a car to match one that you'll see in a minute on the screen, including building the body as well, which will be, a challenge to say the least. So hope you'll enjoy it, and it'll be of some interest to some people. The intention is to show as much detail as I can as I go through, but I appreciate it gets a bit boring watching people either welding or whatever. So I'll speed it up or just skip over it and talk over it if need be. Hope it's okay. Thanks for watching. Hi, welcome. This is the first of what I hope will be a series of videos chronicling the build of an Austin 7 Special. I bought a 1933 PD chassis, had an engine with it. I think it's the right one for the car. No body. So I've seen a special I really like, built by a guy called David Gregson. It was on BAT, Bring a Trailer, sold for a load of money in the States. I think it's a cracking little special, and I'm going to try and emulate that. So this is episode 1. Hopefully you'll follow me on the journey. I have made a start, and I'm going to show you some pictures in a minute of what I've done. So I bought the chassis. It was in reasonable nick, but it was, rusty, as you might imagine. So it needed sandblasting. I took it apart. I'll show you some video of that in a bit. Not without problems, I have to say. Some of it was hard to get apart, especially the bolts that hold the springs on at the rear. They were very difficult. One of the cotter pins had been put in the wrong way around, I discovered later on, making it, as one chap had said, jolly difficult to get out. And he'd tell you what, it was jolly difficult to get out. Anyway, it's out. I bought then another pair of axles that had already been converted to hydraulic brakes on the basis that they were okay. I've since found that one of the bearings had gone, but it's not a big deal. And so I've actually got those here as well. So this is the chassis. I just started work on it in this picture. Thought I'd take some film to kind of show the condition of it. Generally pretty sound, to be honest. More or less all there. That's the new axle I bought there, the foot at the end of the picture. They turned out to be not the bargain I thought they were. So this is the actual rear axle, which had been painted up and looked pretty decent, but wasn't as good as it looked. The front axle was the big issue though. However, we've managed to overcome that, and I explain as I go along. Right, I won't bore you with the details, but this took forever. Okay, and ever. Grips might do lots of use of the impact wrench, lots of rusty nuts and bolts, lots of bolts I couldn't use again. But eventually it all came apart, which was good. So yeah, just removing the rear. Yeah, I had to use a bit of heat every now and then. I'm going to delete those out of this, I think. The rear shock absorbers are very difficult to take out. It shouldn't have been, but they were. Anyway, I got them out eventually. I used a big hammer in the end. It's quite surprising really how long it takes just to take some of this stuff apart. Sorry, this is in, what do you call it, portrait rather than landscape. Sorry about that. There'll be a bit of this going on because I'm not used to making videos. Hammer and a block of wood, 2 seconds, there you go. with was a lot of bits laid all over the garage floor, as you can see, but it was all in bits, which is the main thing. Next, onto a pallet so that I can take it away to get it sandblasted. Whether I remember where everything goes in the future is another matter altogether. So this was the crate full of bits to go off for sandblasting. This is it when it came back. Could have been a bit better, but it was okay. And there we are with a coat of nice red paint. Okay, so here we are with the Austin 7 chassis again. The paint's gone on quite well. I do like red, but one of the things I'd neglected to do was sort this out first. At the front of the chassis, someone at some point has cut this away here. No idea why. Obviously it should look like this on both sides. Perhaps it was a special, perhaps they needed, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try and remake this on both sides so that, you know, it looks original again. So when I took the chassis apart, put the springs out, there was a piece of metal here which just basically just snapped off. So I made a new piece to go on there. The copper is just, you know, weld through primer, and I'm just going to put that on there. I'm going to weld it on. I've already done the other side. Just got to grind off some of my dodgy. I make the piece of metal to match this next, you know, so it's got that sort of shape in it. Going to be hard to do because there'll be very little metal to actually weld there, but we'll see how we go on. And then I'll make a piece to go underneath as well at the same time, so I can put the two pieces together. This actually should look something like this, shouldn't it? Okay. So after a bit of welding and a bit of cutting, a bit of filing, I've got that there, which is pretty close, I've got to say, I think. And then I've done the other side as well, which needs some paint on it. I'm going to drill a hole through there and put a bolt through, I think. So this is the axle that I bought, which turned out to be more of a nightmare really. It is a dropped axle, but the eye holes for the kingpins were too big. They had to be redone. That was a couple £100. And the half shafts were the wrong half shaft as well, which just goes to show you can't be too careful when you're buying second-hand parts. Hey ho. So what happened next was that I put it all together, put the whole front axle on, went to put the kingpins in, and discovered that actually the eyes on the axle that I bought, the dropped axle, were they weren't round, and there was too much slack in them. So I had to send them away, get them shrunk so that the kingpins were a good fit, which is now being done. And the next bit is me putting together after waiting for the axle to return. Okay, so this is what I've done with the suspension so far. First thing I did was I made this plate here, 5mm mild steel, give it a coat of paint, drill some holes in to lighten it. The other holes are to fasten on the actual brackets. What I'll do in a sec, I'll start putting it together and explain what I've done as I go. One of the key things I did was to make this plate here, which is it's a triangular plate to allow the spring to stay put, which I understand is necessary. But what I've done is I've extended it so that it will also carry, because I've got the lower spring, to carry the radius arms on a lower level. So that's it's a plate I made just by welding a couple of bits of 5mm steel side by side and then drilling holes in them. So that goes on there, and that helps to locate the axle as well, because I'll show you on here. It's obviously not lined up there. As soon as you line it up, it pushes the spring into position. So that's quite handy. And then the radius arm here, I've got the radius arm, it's got the similar thing on it there, which is, you know, wants a bit more paint on it. That goes on there and then through there. and I've got some spacers that I just made the other day, which are hanging up somewhere. Oh, here they are. Here's one I prepared earlier. Hopefully that will fit over there. So that goes in there. The spacer goes on there. And that will then come up here, fit onto that. That goes on there. With a bit of luck, that will go through there. Except of course you have to put the thing on the right way around. Otherwise it makes it a little difficult. That's that. Ace Mechanic. And then, obviously there's the main bolt that goes through here. Because I've altered the arrangement of the suspension, this bolt, which normally goes through here, it's a 3/4 inch bolt I think, that normally goes through there. Well, what I've had to do is drill the end, tap it, put a 3/8 inch BSF bolt in there, and that carries the suspension arm into it. So that goes in there as well. And down here, put that in place, put that through there. I'm not going to tighten it all up right now, I'm just going to show you. And then there's a nut on the other side of there, and then underneath obviously there's a nut on there for the radius arm as well. That plate holds it all in place. There's, you know, I've got the washers and lock, split washers on there. Same again on the other one with a bit of luck. And what I've ended up doing here is I've had to lose one of the grease nipples because, that's the wrong one, because you need a regular bolt going through there. So one of the bolts that went through here that had a grease nipple on the end of it, I've actually discarded. But of course this bolt doesn't move, so there's not really a need for that one to be greased. But I've still got a grease nipple here to grease the piece that does move. So that's kind of in there now, just very roughly. It needs tightening up obviously. And then suspension arm, you've got suspension arm which I had cut so it's right size. Got these rubbers which are incredibly tight to put on. Anyway, there's a washer to go on there somewhere. There it is. Little penny washers to go on first, and then this. That goes like that. You're going to go back to the frame, and then this goes on here. It needs a washer on as well, and it also wants a spacer. So I've got to put a spacer on there, which I'm debating about because I'm not sure it's the right thing to do, to be honest. I don't know whether it needs it. It's just that I don't really think to clash. It's probably out of the way, but you don't know what's going to happen when it starts bouncing around. Well, that can't move, and that can't get any higher. So maybe that would be okay. Anyway, I'll finish this in a sec. My battery's about to die on me. It's not something I normally do this. So what I can show you at the moment is I have actually put the axles up, the front axle on, as you can see. The rear axle is also on, looking through that picture window there. And I've had these stainless steel suspension brackets made. Get the camera with it right. Had those suspension brackets made, and they will, and also I've made this plate up in the centre as a support for that. I'll show you that going together as a bit of video. And then obviously I'm trying to position the steering rack, or the steering column I should say, with a view to positioning the seats and blah blah blah. So what I'll do now, I think, so all going according to plan, except when I've got the right kingpins, the eyes in the axle have been shrunk. Then I discovered that the half shafts are rubbish. not the half shafts, the stub axles are rubbish, and not correct at all. So I did have some semi-girling ones, so I ended up taking the whole thing apart again, would you believe? And then getting the semi-girling ones, putting new bushes in them, reaming them out, and then starting again. It was like the third time. So nothing goes according to plan, does it? So this is me putting it together eventually when I did get all the bits together. Actually, it's more about me putting the back plates and the hubs on, which in itself was a farce, to be honest. But eventually got there. I think that's about it. There might be another alteration yet to come. So with the flat washer as well, let's open these up. Right, where's them spring? So this hub's got hydraulic brakes on. This back plate's got hydraulic brakes on, and this is what I bought when I bought the second axle. These were on the second axle. Why doesn't that one go in there? And I thought the second axle was a good buy, but I don't know if it was or not. There's a lot of bits on it I've reused, but the hubs in particular have just been chopped, ground, whatever. I mean, this is the one that came off. You can see all the ends all being ground off there, and it's quite thin. The back of it's really thin compared with these. I don't know. And they're going in finally. Look, one more. Quite tight, that's not surprising. And I need a socket for the end of that. Well, I don't know exactly the right socket, but this one is very close. I'm hoping it's going to be enough. Looks like I might want to take it off. What's really annoying is I had this all together once with those dodgy stub axles, and of course I had to take it all apart as soon as I realised that they weren't very good. So with this on, I can now put the hook on. Okay. Why does that not seem right? So that's better. Yeah, it should be that there's a lip on the stub axle, and it fits inside the back plate, and it's got to be a proper fit and flush, you know. I don't know what torque you're supposed to put these to. Clearly, I've got a couple of torque wrenches, but I don't know the number. And this socket's not a good fit, so we may have to come back to this. Right. No, I don't want to have to come back to it because I'm going to put the hub on next. Not very tight here. I think so. Right, put this on. Pinholes at the top. Just check that pin on position again. Where is it? That's the proper position there. So that's nearly at the top. Just when you put the pin in, obviously it has to go through this castellated nuts. You've got to have it in the right place, haven't you? Back it up a bit. The thing about these Austin 7s is that everything is, you've got to be careful you don't over tighten something or whatever. I think that's okay. I just need to find a split pin to put in there. Now I have a box of split pins there, but they need cutting short. And I think I've got a short split pin somewhere already cut. Okay, change of angle. I don't know if this is going to work because I haven't tried this before on here. I don't know. That needs to go into that hole there. Like that. And this one needs to go on the other side. Like that. And that looks dead easy, doesn't it? But I've missed something out. This, that adjuster has to go in there. That's what makes it somewhat difficult. So, I've got to pull this down now. Ha! My God, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I can't believe that's right. There he is. Will the hub go on? Will the hub go on? Here's the question. Does the hub move? Yay! Will it want to adjust in? Yes, it will. In which case, what I could do with doing is drilling a hole in here so I could adjust it on the move, as it were. That'll fit in there. And that'll go in there. Hold that hub in place. Oh, look at that. That's almost a success. Lead nibble has to go in the bottom, they must go in the top. That does not look right. No, the bleed nibble has got to go in the bottom, hasn't it? Having fitted the hub, I'm now fitting the little brake pipe that connects both of the slave cylinders together. Having a little bit of difficulty doing that. But if the filming here is rubbish because you can't see what I'm doing, but basically small length of pipe, 2 connectors on either end, and screwed into each of the slave cylinders on the back plate. I'll try and add a picture of that somewhere here. These are not the same because the bent shape presumably, so won't ever go in there like that. I won't ever go in there like that. Well, how about that? Let's screw on. So the feed is going to go in the top one here on one side, and the bleed can go on the other side. And I've just got to knock the little cap on top of there, and that's a good one, I think. And then I can do the suspension tomorrow. Well, will that take an hour and a half, 2 hours? I've got me 4, let's have a look. There's me washer. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 4 split washers. I'm going to need, there's the 4th split washer, I don't know. Got another one of them now, look at that. Oh, cool stuff. Right, that'll do. I've got the hub on, surprisingly. I'm not the world's best mechanic. I do try hard though, which is quite important. Anyway, it's on one side. I'll be able to do the hubs not tomorrow. I'm going to Prescott tomorrow. It's the VSCC meeting and it should be a cracking day. I might even put a bit of video on here of it. 1st of August today, 2nd tomorrow at Prescott. So I might see you there. So there we are at Prescott, parked in good company next to an Austin Healey 3 litre, which looks like it has sporting heritage. There were some cracking cars there, including this ERA, which was phenomenal.
Replica. This is the car that blows up one of what you and I call almost like shells and switches. That hardly special, event power bus. Radio special. Catipo is the one I'm looking forward to. I love doing the Dares machine. You need to come over to test his metal.
And there we are. There was loads of stuff to see. Just a glimpse of what was on offer. Definitely worth a trip. So that's it for this video. Hope you like it. There's more to come, including the engine next time. which I've started working on as well, and just goes to show how difficult it can be with, you know, nothing quite as it seems and parts that don't fit and blah blah blah. So hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers.